Welcome back to Passionate About RC. Here we have the Ford Bronco 2021. It's already been unboxed and we're going to install the Bluetooth module today. But firstly, in the unboxing I didn't quite have this packet open. Other than the car and the transmitter that you're going to get in the box, you also get this packet here. So you're going to get some tools here for releasing your wheels and also some Allen keys. So that's going to help you work on some elements of the car. So you get those. You're going to get a pack of stickers, which is all nice. Then I'm going to show you through these quickly. You're going to get your quick start guide, how to get yourself started with the car. Lots of information in there worth reading. So read all that. How to release your body, everything there. So just give that a good read. You're not so much need to worry about that one. But then this one is the key one. I say to people not throw this one away. Does mention Traxxas support, etc., warranties, all that. Worth a read as well. So crack on reading through that. You'll understand everything that may be covered. But the most important thing of this booklet is actually the exploded views and the parts list in the back here. So you get the worded parts list, and then as you get right to the back, these diagrams here are really good, very useful for working on the car and finding any part numbers that you may require to replace parts, or even option parts. You get the option parts listed here, so really good manual to have. Just don't throw that away. Whenever you phone us, we'll ask for the part number if you're doing it over the phone, rather than trying to explain a certain part on the car, because you're always going to get the wrong parts. Whereas if you can phone up and tell me I want part 8245, you're going to get that part, and it's going to be the right bit for what you're asking for. So really useful, and that's all there. So don't throw that away, keep that, really good. So anyway, I'm not going to go on about that too much, that's all in there. What I really want to do is run through the add-in of the Bluetooth module, which is this. So we're going to add the Bluetooth module to our TQR transmitter. A lot of people struggle with this for some reason, but we're going to run through that step by step and show you how to do it, and the best way to do it. So what we'd always suggest is 1.5mm driver. You do actually get that inside the box too, so if you don't have one handy, you've got that plus a spare screw. So that's there. Bluetooth module itself pops out here. It's this tiny little thing. Just pop all these things back in. So we would also suggest a really good tool is the Traxxas phone mount. It's going to hold your phone. We always use a separate phone that we don't use as a mobile, so there's no interruptions with phone calls, etc., while you're trying to do updates. So that's a really good tip to have. If you've got to use your phone, just make sure you're putting it into do not disturb mode when you're doing any updates, because it just helps stop any interruptions, phone calls coming through and basically interrupting the update, which is a problem sometimes. So the phone mount, really simple to click on. You kind of release the screw here so the nut's loose, slide over the top here, and then just, if you can see that, just ease it over till it clips into place and roll it back to wherever you want it along here. So just kind of put it to the point where it just settles on. So that's that piece on, ready. Also a good tool to use is a scalpel blade, really nice sharp scalpel blade when you're doing this, because the sticker across the top here, basically we're going to slice just down here along this line. Just do it very gently and slowly. You don't really want to slip and start scoring all the plastic, because it'll make a really nasty job of it. So you're just going to take this nice and slow. The sharper the blade, the better. you try and do it too quick, you're going to slip, you're going to scratch the side of the radio, everything. It's going to look awful. So there you go, just down to that point there where that sticker ends. And that should be a nice clean job then. You put your scalpel out of the way. Then 1.5 driver into this screw here. Release. Be careful with this screw, it's tiny. You don't want to drop it on the floor. This should just then be good gentle here. That should just literally fall out, just a blanking plate. Then one thing to check here, just make sure, I don't know if you can see this very close up with the camera, I'm trying to get it in. Row of pins here, just make sure they're fairly straight and that when this goes in they're going to go into place. So the two little prongs here just fit up here. So once that's in up there, just slowly drop that in. Now this is where you just want to be really sensible. See, to me that's catching straight away. And just make sure pins are lining up. They can be sometimes fiddly. Don't force it in, because if that's not lining up, the pins are going to bend. Just give it a gentle wiggle. This is quite an awkward fit, this one. So you can see where it's pushing up here. So I think they're kind of poking up too high. Just push them down really gently, because this is where some people go wrong. So I'm kind of glad this is happening now on video. People force it in and then they bend these pins, but they bend horribly. So they kind of, they just need a little bit of easing down first. On this particular one, doesn't always happen. Very rarely happens to me. But this time, it is. There you go. So kind of give a bit of a push up there. That's how easy it should slot in if they're lining up correctly. So if there's any resistance there, don't keep pushing. Just, if anything, push upwards. So there's such a small amount of room where them pins slide in. So keep pushing upwards until them pins just literally slide in. Nice and gently. Pop your pin back in. Don't need to over tighten this screw, it's only going into plastic. Just go up to the point it's just starting to bite there. That's it. You don't need to start cranking that in. Just strip all your plastic out. Pointless. There you go. That's that part of the installation. So your install has got your Bluetooth module into the radio here. So that bit's done. Obviously going to need to put your AA batteries in. I'd always recommend Duracell Ultra, any good quality brand. AA batteries. Next thing is pop your phone into the holder. So there we go, everything's there. Just gonna, there's the Bluetooth app for my phone. Call up your Traxxas link. Just make sure everything's ready. Now with mine I tend to create another car first. So I just want to add four-wheel drive model. And then find your rock crawler. Hopefully the Bronco will be on here. It's fairly new. There we go. I'm going to add that manually. You can, it normally adds it, picks it up on its own when you first connect, but I like to do it like this because I've already added a few other models. So I'm going to call that Ford Bronco. I mean, you can change the name or it's going to give you the name here. So I'm going to call that Ford Bronco Save. So now I've got this here in my dash, so I've got all these cars. This one's obviously unlinked because I haven't actually linked it yet, but it's going to link when I ask it to, which you're going to see. So that's good. So that's all ready to go. So first thing is, I'll take the body off of this, which I now know how to do. Fingers in, pull outwards on the clips. That releases up through the hole. Same on the rear. Body's released. Now put that over here. Nicely out of the way. Okay, so put battery in. For the purpose of this, I've just put a 2S LiPo in. That's going to be fine for this. The car's not going to be running at all, so it's not going to take hardly any juice. So now with this, what you're going to do is fire up your transmitter, and you're going to notice that's going to hit. Green lights should come on. Actually, sorry, go back a stage. I haven't actually paired this up yet. So first thing you're going to do is turn your transmitter on. On the back here there's a little button. Push that. It's going to be flashing blue for a couple of seconds or so. Now obviously you've got to do this quick enough. Once you've done that, it's flashing. You hit your wireless button. Connected. So now you know that's connected. There's automatically, pretty much 99% of the time this is going to happen, transmitter update required. Not going to proceed. Kind of what we're going to do next is just turn the car on. Just lift up, turn on. The car's connected. The vehicle's also connected here. So now what we've got here is a transmitter update and a receiver update, so it is going to want to do both. So with this, again, make sure you've got your Bluetooth switched on so that you can allow the Bluetooth connection. So your Bluetooth needs to be switched on your phone. The other thing I always suggest is to make sure you're in do not disturb mode. It's really important. Just, you don't want these things getting disturbed. This is why I've actually used a separate mobile device now, which one of my old mobile phones doesn't have a SIM card in it. It's not going to take any calls, not going to get interrupted in any way. So that's why. So basically, once that's to this stage, you can hit touch here to proceed for firmware update. Before updating an electric model, make sure the drive wheels or prop wheels are off the ground. I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If it's a powerful, fast car, yes, get them wheels off the ground. If it's my UDR, I put it on its roof, so the wheels are up in the air anyway. Similar with any other cars, normally just turn them upside down, so they're done. Proceed. Once you begin the update, you must not terminate the application or power down your transmitter. This is the important bit. You've got to let it run. Give it time. So car, receiver, space everything apart. So I kind of just put it next to each other, not on top of each other over here. Space it apart enough that it's not going to have any silly interference. So this is again why we have the phone up here, transmitter here, the receiver there. Begin update. It does take a while, so this is going to be an uncut video. Hopefully I don't run out of battery or memory on the camera. So what it does is it verifies your stage 1 and 2, runs through that, and it will do that on both the transmitter and the receiver. Sometimes it does the ESC as well, but it's not asking to do that this time. This can take sometimes up to half an hour or so, so give yourself time. Do these checks before you go out with the vehicle as well. Don't be going out in the middle of a field and switching all this on to find that actually it's going to do an update or wants to do an update, because it won't let you do anything. I think there is actually a way of cancelling that update. You swipe to the left on the screen and it will give you the option to not do it. So you'll notice the transmitter light flashing a bit. You'll see the receiver light flashing too, so it's doing its job. This is where a little bit of patience comes in anyway. So once all these are installed, we have a little play with the car probably. Do want to install the GPS module as well. So I'll probably do that on a separate video, otherwise they all end up a little bit long. Grab a coffee, it's going to need one. So it's now doing the receiver, verifying stage 1 of 2. Another thing while we're waiting, guys, is a lot of people do seem to have issues with servos. They seem to think that you need to set your endpoints on the diff lock servos and the high-low speed transmission change servo. These are all preset at factory, so providing your linkage is the right length. Ooh, it's doing something. They're all set. Doing the speed controller now. Maybe I should have touched that. Anyway, yeah, so the preset, so they don't need it. Don't really know how else to explain it, but as long as you put the servo horn onto the servo with all the radio gear up and running, they're in the correct position. They've got the correct amount of throw, so providing you put the servo horn on in the right position, they will only go so far, and they're in a safe zone, so they should be fine. They may get jolted if you're going over heavy bumps, possibly, so they're not indestructible. They may fail, but it's not to do with your endpoints on those particular servos. The steering servo, however, is that's where you need to set your endpoints. You don't want to have your steering pulling too far past the endpoint, or pushing too far past the endpoint, where it's stressing up against the side of the axle carrier. So that's the important thing. Just bring your steering servos back a bit. the other thing with the rock crawlers, they don't have a servo saver. So if you're going to be jamming your servos while you're steering up against things, there's the risk that it's gonna chew up a tooth, especially on the plastic gear servos. These are metal gear servos anyway, so they're pretty good. The issue with the earlier ones were they had a plastic servo horn, so you would round out the internal part of the plastic servo horn, but again, that's kind of a servo saver. That is the servo saver. Plastic horn on a metal gear servo, you strip out the plastic horn, which is £4 or £5 to replace. Put a metal servo horn on, that's not going to strip, so straight away your stresses are going to the gears in the servo, which they're pretty strong, so they're not going to get damaged unless you really give it some whacking. But if you damage a metal gear servo, it's more expensive than replacing a £5 plastic servo horn. So you got to weigh up the pros and cons of both, see what you want to do. So this is all updating, hopefully. Updating stage 2 of 2, TSM receiver. Not sure why that servo moved, but it's not buzzing or making a lot of noise, so to be fair, I was touching it. So you just keep waiting. You've got to wait for this. The bar's moving very slowly, but it is moving. I'll say this is an uncut video, so sorry it's really boring, but you fast forward it if you like. We're literally watching a progress bar at the moment. But I want this to be an uncut video so you see what's happening is what happens. Or this particular time, I'm not making anything up to make it look easy. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong. But we just wanted to see how it all happens, and that you do have to wait if you think it's not working. I've had people say that it will come up saying failing, it won't go through, but generally when that's been happening is people have had the transmitter rested on top of the car and it's not, for whatever reason, it's just not doing it. And if it's just a signal issue, it's not connecting correctly, it's too close to the transmitter, too close to the receiver, whatever reason there's interference, it's just not working. And generally this setup here works. And it's not, it's next to each other, it's not anything special. And just a reminder, the key thing is to have your do not disturb set if you're using your active mobile. If you're using a spare mobile that has no SIM device in it, in theory you're not going to get any disturbed phone calls coming through to that phone. I'd always have everything off. Don't have a WhatsApp running or anything on this phone. Just purely use it for your Traxxas links. Not too long now. Here we go, all devices appear to be updated. Wrapping things up. Okay, so that's basically it. Please power the transmitter and vehicle off and back on to complete the update. Now, it kind of says it that way round. I always power down the car first, no matter what, and never switch the radio off before the car, and every time it's fine. So I always disconnect. I do always connect the battery, disconnect the radio, leave the update screen, give it a few minutes, even switch down the app, close the app down, close the app down, reopen the app, reconnect, transmitter on, wait for your green light. I always lift the car and turn it on, it's just a habit, it stops any servos twitching and ruining servos as you turn it on. So car's on. So your vehicle's lighting up. So now you've got all your menus. Let's run through some of this. You've got your drive effects. So you've got all this: steering sensitivity, throttle sensitivity, steering 100%, braking 100%, throttle trims, cruise controls. The cruise control dial is actually this dial here, so you can set that to wherever you want. So that is set to your cruise dial. What you can also do here is choose which dial you want that to be allocated to. So you can change that quite easily in this app. You can just go bosh, want it on that one. So that's really good to have. In your garage, this is where you've got your channel set up for your servos. So steering, sub trim, 100%, 100%. At the moment, these have all gone back to what the app's telling it, so they've all reset. To double check your endpoints, you can do your endpoints in here. Steer fully to the left, bring this 100% back to where it needs to be, so it's at the point the endpoint stops. I may do that in a separate video because this one's going to end up long. Just a little bit of how to set these, which would be really good. Anyway, that's that. First thing I'm going to do though is the dashboard, because this is cool. It automatically is already going to give you this based on the dials here for your inclinometer. So because it's the Defender, the TRX-4, this app for this car automatically gives you those dials. So that's really cool. We are going to put the GPS module on this. We're going to get GPS speed readings. We're not getting any speed readings at the moment. Temperature, again, we're not getting temperature because there's no temperature attached to the motor. Once we've got the GPS module in, we will have a temperature sensor for the motor. There is a battery power tap which we can also connect, which we will do. So these ones are flashing because they're not connected. The sensors aren't connected yet, so that's why. You can have lights for your Defender as well. That's not really doing anything just yet, 'cause it's not installed. But to add a dial, you basically click the screen, click, and then let's get a let's try voltage on the ESC. So you've got all these so far. Let's just do a voltage one, receiver or ESC. Pick that one. Oh, let's see, it's only picking the battery. So yeah, so again, I think you're going to need to, it's just going to give you the battery voltage. So the vehicle voltage is up here, so it's going to be on or not. Let's just delete that one. Remove. Delete. So basically, mind you, that doesn't seem right, because I think that needs resetting. Yeah, I mean that isn't correct, so you're going to have to look into that, because that's what it's saying is a level, but that's not level. So the gyro's out. check that. Let's remove it and add it. Oh, did that just crash on me? Let's add that back in. Just see if that resets itself. Inclinometer. Let's hope this is going to reset itself. No. That's odd. That is odd. I'm going to look into that. But anyway, the Bluetooth's updated. Maybe an issue with the inclinometer here. I need to work that out, because that shouldn't be its level, you know. So we'll have a look into that one and let you know. No firmware updates, so that's all done. That's interesting. But there you go, everything's updated. Let's just check everything is working. In fact, while we're here, you can see what I'm talking about. So as you steer to the left or right, as it gets to there, that's the end point. As you go a bit more, it's pulling, which you don't want. Again, with this side, there's your end point. That's pulling, don't want. So you're going to tell it. Let's go in here. It's so much simpler to do it in here. So channel setup, steering. So our left end point here, that's on 100%. Bring it back 40%. It's only going there. So you can then go, okay, 78%. And you're watching for this mechanical point here not to hit this and start pushing it. So basically there would be a safe place, you know, and that's back to 78.2%. Same with the right, back there we want it, and it's pulling, so bring it back 80%. 80% is doing it. So maybe we can go to 80% here. It's going to be different on the left and the right. See, 80%'s all good there too. So about 80% on both. So I'm going to leave it there. That's it. That's as easy as setting the endpoint when you're in the app, which we like. I do need to find out what's going on with this gyro though. That's the one thing that's going to be frustrating. But what I'm going to do is power everything off, give it a bit, and then let's just try the diff locks too. He's in, closed, open. Everything's working correctly, it's all good. But what we're going to do, we need to check what's going on with this gyro, because I'm not happy with that. See, it's on 0 there. Let's reconnect. Radio. Ah, do you know what it was? I think it's where I switched the car on and I had the car lifted so it wasn't straight. That's probably what it is. I think the gyro needs to be set. Let's see. I've just thought of that. Let's just see if that works. Which would make sense. So, oh, maybe not. Now it's just changed. Odd. Odd. Well, it's an uncut video. That's what's happening at the moment. Gonna have to come back on that one and see why. I'll find that out as soon as possible. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will get back to you with an update in the next video, just to let you know what's happened with that jar and how we've gone about fixing that. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye bye. Okay guys, I'm back as promised, and the issue of the Inclinometer telemetry has been solved. Basically needed to recalibrate the Inclinometer. So jumped onto Traxxas support online, live chat. Great people, don't know everything. So yeah, double check that with them, and actually you can recalibrate your inclinometer gauges. So all we had to do was, I've got it printed off here actually, so it's nice and easy. Just put your vehicle on a flat surface, power on the vehicle, verify that the receiver LED is solid green, pull out the rubber cap of the receiver box. What you got to then do is press and hold the bind button for a bit more than 2 seconds, or until the LED blinks both red and green. First it goes red, then a couple of seconds after it starts flashing red and green. So once that's doing that, you slowly lift the rear of the vehicle, just keep slowly lifting it up and up and up until, basically up and up and up until the car is effectively nose down. Then it will start flashing green. Once it starts flashing green, bring the car back down to a level, back down so it's all 4 wheels, nice and level. Don't squish it down so it's just literally start to touch and rest on the ground. A couple of seconds after that, it goes solid green, and then after that, it's basically done. Switch everything off, turn the car off, turn the transmitter off, switch everything back on. It did take me a few tries, I'm not going to lie, because to start with, again, first time you do everything, not too far, how far up you have to go, how slow you have to go, so it's going to take you a few times. Don't give up on the first try, because you'll never get anywhere. But it does work, and as you can see now, I'm proving it's going to work. These are the gauges here. If I've lifted the car this way, we've got the side inclinometer angle going up, whereas before it was already there at 30. So you can see how much of a angle that is. So it's way off. So yep, that's that way. You can go the other way. So you can see that, and also lift the bonnet, incline going up, down, and the rear coming back up, so nose down. You can see all that happening. So there you go, that's it. Recalibrated, everything's fine, the app was fine, there was no problems with the firmware update or anything like that. There's no bugs in the system, just needed a recalibration, and it's all working perfectly now. While I still got you, I did actually go straight ahead and install GPS module today. So I will have speed readings, GPS speed readings. When I get outside, must admit I've got to set up a speed dial here, so I'm going to switch to some of these dials around as soon as I've done that. Once I'm outside and getting the GPS signal, can't get it indoors. Also add a motor temperature sensor, so I've got a motor temperature sensor hooked up to the motor. Maybe need it, maybe don't, but I'm going to put a brushless system on this at some stage, so it's there for when I do. Obviously this motor here is probably not going to get too hot. And then the I also installed the BEC and also a voltage sensor to the receiver, so I'm basically getting my receiver output reading here, 6 volts. 6 volts should stay there at 6 volts really. 79 degrees Fahrenheit. The motor, that's just, I haven't even done anything with it, it's just literally that indoor temperature. I haven't even run the motor yet. So there you go, that's everything there. I'll show you what it looks like under the hood with those parts installed. So this is flashing because it's not picking up a GPS signal, but everything else is working. So I've mounted the the motor temperature sensor just here to the wheel arch, and then done a bit of nice cabling work here, mounted that to the motor. Then with the receiver voltage comes up here, just clips onto there and runs down here into, with the BEC you get an extra high box, which is why I put that on straight away, because it just helps put the cabling in. It comes out, you know, this is quite full of cables inside this bottom one here, so having that extra top one here was really good to be able to feed the other cables into. So fed this cable from this one back into this to get to the receiver, so that's nice. And then the BEC as well also runs around the back here, plugs into the power from the ESC. So again, that is neat and tidy just down here. Oh nice. So that's it. Hopefully get some good speed readings. Obviously not with this brush motor on it, because this is for crawling, but once the brushless stuff goes in we can start to get some speed readings, see what we're doing on the GPS. So that'll be cool. That's pretty much it for today. I will leave you there. Thanks guys, cheers.